Well, hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. This is another recommendation vid for you guys, showing you 5 must-play games for the original PlayStation. Now, I know the library for the PlayStation 1 is absolutely huge, but I'd just like to show you some hidden gems that you may not have heard of or even played for yourself. And I'd love to hear from you guys of what you like to recommend for me and the viewers. So let's jump into 5 must-play games for the original PlayStation 1.
First one I have up for you guys is the much appreciated Dino Crisis 2, released back in the year 2000 in the PAL areas by Capcom Production Studio 4, directed by Shu Takumi, who worked on the much loved and much appreciated Resident Evil 2, which I'm sure we've all heard of, but mostly he is credited for his work for Phoenix Wright's Ace Autonomy series. You start as 2 main playable characters, one called Dylan and the other called Regina. Regina being the character from the very first game that was released on the original PlayStation and Sega's Dreamcast. This is the second one in the series and was exclusive to Sony's PlayStation, and not too long after it got released to the PC. It is based after the events of the previous game. After some failed research into time distortion, it resulted in an entire research base and military institution titled Edward City to be transported into another time, along with all its inhabitants. Your mission is to find saviors of the time displacement and recover data of the third energy experiments, switching throughout the both main characters. Personally, I really enjoy the concept as well as a look at those pre-rendered backgrounds that we had back in the PlayStation 1 heyday, something I wish they could really bring back and have a HD conversion. You're equipped with a main weapon and sub-weapon. You will notice there's a lot of resemblance to that of the Resident Evil 2 release. Being injected as a kid by all those Jurassic Park films in the 90s, I grew to enjoy anything based on dinosaurs much like any other kids. I was really excited of this release, especially of its concept, and it was created by Capcom. On my first impression of the release, I remember being quite annoyed because I was looking forward to the Dreamcast release as I complete the very first one on that system. But we never got that release, did we? After going back to the original PlayStation for the second one in the series, it did come across less visually appealing as the first, even though it was a later release. The style and gameplay being somewhat different and simplified to that of the first in the release is what took a lot of players away and preferring the first one. Now, recently picking up this game, I really started to appreciate this a lot better. It has more of an arcade style approach, accumulating points for each kill with combo and survival bonus. Then with those accumulated points, you can then purchase new weapons and upgrade them, and also attain more gear at the store that you find scattered around in the game. One of my favourite parts has to be the underwater level. Great settings and a creepy atmosphere that did make me jump a few times, and taking down Nessie was pretty awesome. Also, the incorporation of sections with an arcade style shooting was pretty fun. But I was not a fan of this guy, and he totally does not have a Native American accent there.
I rule!
But you are in a treat with this character in this game. Personally, I really enjoy the change and the quick response and handling of the controls. It applied more of a fun factor to the series, and I have to say it is one of my more favourable games to this series. For my next one is Clonoa Daughter Phantomile, a great 2.5 platformer, and the prices in fact on this one is getting pretty high. A digital download or a HD port would be awesome. This guy, some badger rabbit thing, not really sure what he is, does look pretty awesome, especially with that Pac-Man hat. I wonder if you can get one of those. It was released by Namco, enhanced the Pac-Man hat, in 1997 and directed by Hideo Yashizawa, the same guy who supported Ninja Gaiden on the NES and produced the awesome Mr. Driller. The settings is based in a dream environment that can appeal both to kids and adults. It's got very impressive cutscenes and graphics for its time. The story itself is very captivating and somewhat immersive, that you would not really take from the original cover design. It does remind me more of a title that you would find on the Sega Saturn. Its gameplay design is quite unique and refreshing to get into, using the enemies as projectile weapons, obstacles to get around using certain techniques. Some stages at the end with the boss fights do take place on the 3D arena or head on against at a 2D plane. It has been highly praised and voted as one of the best platformers on the system. There was an actual remake for the Wii, but we also got some sequels for the Game Boy Advance and the PlayStation 2. But since that, we have not seen any sign of him. Until that is, Yashizawa left Bandai Namco Studios in 2016 and now he's working freelance on an animated film adaptation as an executive producer, something I'm really looking forward to. So we all heard of the GTA series, right? One of the most popular games ever. But it came to my surprise recently that a lot of people, especially over in the pond in the States, haven't heard of GTA London 1969. Just found out why they used the year 69. It was originally an expansion pack for the original GTA release on the PC. Then it got a standalone release for the PlayStation 1, but the PS1 did not get the GTA London 1961 that the PC came bundled with. It was developed by Rockstar Canada and published by Rockstar Games. Set in the real-life city of London during the late 1960s, it is the first in the series not to be set in the US, and it includes mostly authentic elements from this period, such as vehicles and the hilarious British Cockney slang, which personally makes me come back to this game time and time again. It does come with some annoying handling errors like aiming, does make it a bit fiddly and somewhat frustrating. A remake of this would introduce new and current follow to the series. I should have really called this video PS1 games we need HD or remade. If you haven't played this one yet, it is very unique and hilarious to play, and you also may get to learn some crazy Cockney slang. Another gem I recommend.
Remember, I'm the monkey and you're the cheese grater, so no messing around.
For my final one I'd like to show you guys, this is a personal favourite. One when I used to play on the PlayStation when I originally first had it. So you may get this game mentioned a fair few times. Tenchu 2 is a prequel set with the main heroes Rikimaru and Ayami as teenagers being taught by their elderly master. The first one for me was the first game that I was not allowed to play. It had that 18-year-old badge on it and introducing me to gore and those rude words. So that was very tasty for me to try and dwell into. But this series really set the ground for stealth games and Japanese ninja-based environments, which grew to what we see today with Ghost of Tsushima. Tenchu 2 was developed by Acquire and published by Activision, exclusive to the PlayStation in the year 2000. Missions are set in different locations and times of day, ranging from rural farmlands, bamboo forest, mountainous regions, beaches, ships, villages and caverns. The player can use a variety of ninja tools and equipment that you can set up before each mission. You can unlock more as you progress each level by finding them simply around the level or completing each one with high rewards. Each character you play performs unique stealth kills. The mark at the bottom corner indicates the range of how close the enemy is, so you can track them down and then BAM! One of the game's most acclaimed features was the mission editor. This gave the player the opportunity to create their own missions, including level layout, deciding where the character to start from, and the mission objectives to complete. It spawned a tournament in North America to find out the best created mission. The game succeeds from the original, and the game is without doubt exceedingly cool. The series has spawned into more sequels, but yet personally I found they haven't really set the tone right as well as they did with the second one in the series for the PlayStation. The company acquired seemed to have lost their rights, I believe, with the third and the fourth one that was developed by K2. But they did develop a series called Shinobi that was released for the PlayStation 2 and the PS Vita, and was really heavily influenced by the Tenchu series. In fact, they did manage to actually pick it up again with the release of Tenchu Shadow Assassins for the Nintendo Wii. For my last game in 5 Right Sprite recommendation PS1 games to play, it would be near impossible for me to not mention an RPG. I wanted to avoid the obvious titles of much loved games like Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy and Tekken 3, just to shed some light on some unknown titles. Grandia is personally in my favourite game list. It was first released for the Sega Saturn in Japan and known as the Final Fantasy Killer. This came out in the PAL area 2 years after in 1999 for the PlayStation 1. The game is developed by Game Arts, who previously worked on the Sega Mega CD series Luna, that also got ported to the PlayStation over in the States. The game has already had some great support on YouTube and has already got a HD port to the Nintendo Switch. A PlayStation 4 version would not go amiss. I'll pop my review video on that release up in the corner now for you. Now, what makes this a great game is its fresh take on the genre, an introduction to voice acting and the killer soundtrack and storyline. But what really made it stand out amongst all the other RPGs is the battle engine. It's so much more engaging than what we had before, and later in the releases it was more refined. A lot of people would consider this the better one in the series. It appears to have a bit more of a depth with the story and more connection with the characters, I find. With the third one in the series, it did take a bit more of a different tone, and it only came out in the States, and that really kind of annoyed me because I was really looking forward to that release over here in the UK and the PAL zones. And so did the Extreme release, which was released in between the second and the third. But there was a way around this, and I managed to get downloaded to my PlayStation 3 in the UK, and I'll send up a link in the top corner for you now to show how to do it for yourself. Well, if you have never played a Grandia game and you've got that JRPG itch that needs scratching, I couldn't recommend this game even more. Or if you've played the later one in the series, you may find you haven't found the best one in the series yet.
So that was just a fair few games I do recommend, and there's definitely a lot more games I do recommend you guys playing. But as always guys, I do like to hear from you and love some recommendations for me to play, and also what you recommend viewers to play as well. And always, if you like this video, hit that button. If you want to help support the channel, click subscribe, leave your comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.